America, and after moving around the globe, she finally settled in San Francisco nearly 20 years ago. In addition to being an artist, she has worked with, as a photography and art teacher with so many incredible organizations, really important organizations in our city. In one of her statements that I read, she wrote that she's drawn to movement, rhythm, poetry, and dance, which I see so clearly in this piece. Also line and organic form that curves and weaves you throughout space, abstraction, bright color, light, and luminosity. And so I feel like this piece captures just so much of that. So I will turn it over to her to talk more.
Thank you for the introduction. Okay. So, hello. Dream Sequence is part of a new project born in the pandemic from the necessity due to not feeling safe outside to find a space in which to fully exist and create. When the lockdown started, I was unable to continue interacting with other artists as before. The need to create led me to search for other options and opened up a new place, the Zoom place, and the possibility of interacting and collaborating with other artists despite the fact that we could not be in the same room. And that's how my collaboration with an artist friend who had moved to New York City years ago began. What started out as a game became my familiar place where to go to find inspiration and create. An exploration of the visual language through shared tales. We created our own space from stories by reading myths and fairy tales from our diverse backgrounds to each other while painting from them. Each time we read something new, we created a new process to interact with it. This painting, which is Dream Sequence 4, was born from a Hermann Hesse story, Dream Sequence, from his fairy tale book. We read the story to each other without knowing what it was about. We read out loud a paragraph or two, then painted for 10 minutes, then back to reading a couple paragraphs, and then again painting, and so on until the story was over. As the story developed, the painting developed. Not knowing what was going to happen in the story or to the painting, and being in a place of not knowing how to relate to the outside world and everything that was happening, I went inside to find my local inspiration. This is an ongoing project, not only about the recording of this experience onto the canvas, but also about the exploration of the need for artists to collaborate and the synergy that's created when we do. So when we first started with this project with my friend Faye in New York, we started from myths and fairy tales that we were familiar with. And we would just randomly choose a paragraph and then paint from it, and then choose something else and paint from it. And I love going to the bookstores, and I found one by Hermann Hesse. It's fairy tales by him, and I had no idea that existed, and I got excited. So I said, how about we try stories that don't belong to either of us, that we don't know what they're about, and let's not read them beforehand. Let's just read a paragraph at a time. And so I would send her photos, or no, actually she got the book as well. So we would each read a paragraph and then be like, okay, now we've got 10 minutes. And we'd be painting 10 minutes from that paragraph or whatever came up. And then the people would go and you'd have to drop whatever you were doing, go back to your chair, read the next one, and so on until either we ran out of time or the story ended. So this one took like 4 different sessions of working. It's a long fairy tale. But what's interesting when you're working on a painting that you don't know how it's going to develop is that you're not really sure where to, or at least for me, where to work on or how